Okay, it looks like we are live, and welcome everyone. I am Jennifer Hughes of momchamp.com, and I'm with today Lori Herbers, who has graciously, thank you, consented to come on and share a brief parenting tip for all of you mom champs out there. So welcome, Lori. Thank you for coming.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
Yes. Well, I love your tip today. Tell us what you want to talk about really quick.
Okay. And this works twofold because I'm also a teacher and a parent. So you learn real quickly that kids don't really listen to what you're saying to them, but they'll do what you do. So always model how you want your children to behave. Or if you want them to be outside more, then you need to be outside more.
I love that. I love that because, it's such a kind of a cultural kind of, I don't know, saying, that people are like, do what I say, not what I do, because we all know that doesn't work, and sometimes parents are the worst offenders here because they're like, like you said, go outside more, and you're not ever outside. So
that's in your room, but mom, yours is a mess. Yeah.
That's really true. So why did you pick this tip?
Why did I pick the tip? Because I think it didn't really sink in when my daughter was younger, but as I started teaching, you tell kids, like, don't do that. And they would just keep doing it because it's like saying, don't think about a pink elephant. Well, now you're thinking about a pink elephant.
Right.
But when I modeled, I could just walk by, just like take stuff right out of their hand without even saying a word. I could just look at a kid and they'd be like, oh, never mind. So it's something that I learned. And then as I realized, if I want my daughter to help do dishes, first, I ask her, but then I also am not just going to leave them pile up.
Right.
Because if I hate dirty dishes piled in the sink, but if I leave them piled, why would she think, well, mom's leaving them piled and she doesn't even like it?
Yeah.
Then why would she? But now that I'm willing to do it, now she'll do it because she knows that I really don't like it.
Right.
But don't expect them to do something you're not going to do. Just like if you don't want your child to be a teenager that drinks, then don't be drinking in your house. I took all of the alcohol out of my house. And now like when she turned 21, she was like, can I have a drink? If you want to, because I just didn't do it. Because I came to realize that whatever I'm doing, she's going to do. Whether I tell her don't do that, she'll still do it.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. I know this man who, when he was a kid, just went and poured out. His parents had an extensive, alcohol room basically, and he just went and poured it all down the drain because
I had a party.
He didn't like how his parents would act or probably his dad would act when he was drunk. So he poured it all down the drain, and he was like, to my surprise, he didn't say a word. And he stopped. Like he recognized what was important to his son,
Well, actually, now that you said that makes me think my mom used to smoke. Mm-hmm. And I don't remember if it was like my brother's 18th birthday or I don't know. No, he's probably older than that. And my mom was like, what do you want for your birthday? And he's like, what I want more than anything is you to quit smoking. And so she did. Wow. There was nothing more powerful than your child saying, I want you around for your grandkids. Stop.
Right.
And she stopped. It's crazy.
I love that. And something that's so powerful though is most of the time they don't ask, right? Like they don't say, Mom, help me learn how to be successful. Help me learn how to make goals for myself, to become more. They don't really know to ask that. And so that's why this example becomes so important, right?
Yes. And I actually have been such on this journey of, dealing with my own thinking and my own belief system. And I know that my daughter has things to work on. And I've tried telling her, but it wasn't until I stopped didn't even say anything and just was doing it myself that she noticed the difference in me. That she literally, now she's starting to come out and actually, hey, Mom, I'm struggling with this. Mm-hmm. Crazy. Without me even saying anything. It's just because I was doing it.
Yeah. So. That's awesome. I know that's how it is with the kids. So I try to exercise every day, and I'm doing it all at home right now. I can't go to the gym. Right. So I turn it on my phone and, do it on the TV. And so my children have all seen this, and most of my children are adults. so they come back and visit me and they see that I'm working out every day and they're like, good job, mom, look at you go, you know, like, so sometimes they'll get up and work out with me and sometimes they don't. Sometimes they're just like, wow, you're just really doing it. But like, I don't ask them to do anything that I'm not, you know, and they're adults. I don't ask them to work out, you know, it's up to them. But I have a 12-year-old who I do ask to work out and he sees me do it every day. So I don't have to feel bad that I'm expecting him to do something I'm not willing to do, which I learned in history, like in elementary school, that's the definition of a tyrant. You know, if somebody like tries to make you do something that they're not willing to do, that's called a tyrant. So you don't want to be a tyrant in your home, right?
No, because then you're going to have rebellion and nobody needs that.
Absolutely true. Yeah. So have you seen this working in the classroom as well as at home?
Oh yeah, that is what they teach us, to model the behaviors. And actually, this last year, the teacher started making actual videos of a teacher showing the incorrect behaviors and then do a video of a teacher doing the correct behaviors just so they could see the difference.
Right.
Because like when you have a kid that's acting out in class and yeah, everybody's laughing at you and everybody thinks it's funny, but then like it shows the flip side of everybody being able to study and they're all learning and they're all paying attention. Like it's something they have to see. And if we want, and nothing drives me crazier as a teacher than to see another teacher like kind of horse playing, joking around with a kid, because we're trying to teach kids not to be making fun of each other. And here's this teacher now joking around with this kid. And I'm like, why are you doing that? Because now you're telling them it's okay because the teacher's doing it. Or I'll have students come to my room and be like, yeah, the teacher swore. And I'm like, excuse me? Yeah. You can't be swearing in your classroom and expect kids not to be swearing. I'm like,
exactly.
It blows my mind.
Well, and that's the same thing with parents, right? Like, you know, there's always that cartoon of a kid saying, you know, this, you know, big swear word, and they're like, where did you learn that? You know, and then you hear the father say it in the next room or something. Like, and you're like, where do you think they learned it? Like, you know, all the words they know, they learned from you, you know? So yeah, that's always kind of a classic example of this. But it can go into all kinds of different areas, right? About the example you set.
Well, not only that, back when I was little, like respect was automatically just given. You respect your elders. It didn't matter if they were treating you like crap. That doesn't work anymore in the schools. Like if you want a child to show you respect, you show them respect first. Because they literally, some of them, they have no idea what it even looks like. They have no idea what it feels like to have someone actually listening to what they're saying. It's crazy. But once you start showing them, you know, how to be respectful, or like I used to teach kids that were locked up, and I would straight out tell them, like, feel free to come in here and be like, I'm having a really rough morning. I need like 5-10 minutes just to kind of center myself because I was fighting with the staff and, you know, whatever. And they're like, we can do that. I'm like, yes, please. So I would do it. Like one day I had like horrific traffic that day. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I need you guys I got to have 5 minutes because the traffic was horrible and it just really stressed me out. And then after I did that, they're all like, you can do that. You can take a minute and just like recenter and refocus and get yourself, you don't have to have a horrible day all day. Yeah, it blew their minds.
I love that because that's a new skill that so often isn't taught. It's not. You know, even in the home, let alone especially not in the schools, right?
Oh yeah. So, I always would give them a minute. I'm like, no, just go sit. It's okay. Or I'd even be like, do I need to call the counselor? Do you want to go talk to the counselor? Because I will call it right now. Like, because otherwise you're just going to have complete chaos.
Right. You know? Right. I love that. And I think it's so important as moms sometimes to be able to have the mindfulness to know that, right? To be able to say, you know what, I need a minute. I had this happen just this week with a couple of daughters that are, you know, home visiting. Just like, we just need to calm down for a minute and come back to it. And I like to work it out. So like I want to talk it out until we resolve it. And I have one, you know, I have a daughter who I need a break. I cannot be calm until I've taken a minute. And, you know, it's hard to kind of find that balance, but it's so important when you're in the heat of things, I think, to calm down a little bit and then maybe come back to it. And you can both speak with dignity and respect. And, you know, that's something that it's it's a little hard for me because I'm like, no, I want to resolve this until it's resolved, you know? And, but that is something important to be willing to do, to take a minute, take what you need, and then maybe teach that skill of how to recenter, you know, refocus kind of with your, you know, with your mindset, you know?
And I find too, as a parent, like I want my daughter to be so much more successful than I have. It's just a parent thing. But then I had to remember that she has to be able to make her own choices, and she has to be able to make mistakes because of her choices. Right. Otherwise, she's going to get out of my house and make something's going to go wrong, and she's not going to know what to do. I literally just met somebody who's my age who finally had something go wrong in her life, and her whole world flipped upside down. She didn't know how to deal with it. And I'm sitting there going, first of all, you are really blessed if it's just now happening to you, because my life has been, you know, like sideways so many times. But then I had to think about, she literally didn't have the skills or even idea of how to realign her life. Like we have to allow our children to mess up, because we're all human. We're gonna mess something up so that they know how to handle their emotions and the upset of it all. Otherwise, they're going to get out of the house and have no idea how to do it.
It's so important because in your home, the lessons they're going to learn are much safer and smaller than what they're going to learn outside the home. And so it really is important to build up that resilience, build up that I can do hard things kind of attitude that, and so that's why it's important not to rescue them from their natural consequences of what happened. Like you go to school, you don't do your homework, you get a consequence from the teacher, right? You get a bad grade, you get a 0, you know, whatever the consequence is, it's built in, it's already there. So as a parent, I don't need to add another consequence because there's already one in. Like, I don't have any consequences if you don't do your homework. And, you know, it's between you and your teacher. Your teacher will handle the consequences. So, you know, I don't have to do that. So it's just kind of one of those natural consequences. So that's why parents shouldn't come in and say to the teacher, how dare you give my student a 0? No, your student didn't do their homework and they knew that was the consequence going in. So it's really important for parents not to rescue from these natural consequences that just happen because of their choices, so that they learn that, so that they're not 40 and like, oh, what's happening in my life? I can't handle this.
I need a shrink.
Right.
No, and I've had parents come up to me with their kids standing next to them, and they're like, you know, she's really struggling with her math. And I'll look at the student, I'm like, well, did you tell her what happened? And they're like, what? I'm like, did you tell her about doing your homework? Did you do your homework? No. And I'm like, okay. And then the parent's like, what? Because they come in all ready to go. Like, and I'm like, and I just automatically go to the student, because I tell them from day one, I've already taken this class and I passed. It's your turn now. It's not my turn. It's not my turn.
Exactly.
And I even taught my daughter, like, when she hit middle school, if she forgot something, because I'm like, it's your job to make sure you have everything you need to go to school. And if she called me and said, I forgot this, I'm like, oh, well, now what are you going to do? Now what are you going to do about it? We can't keep rescuing them because we're not always going to be around. They have to get the skills to rescue themselves. So important.
Right. And you're not going to raise a self-reliant, strong, capable individual if you rescue them, because who's going to rescue them after they, you know, when they're in college? Who's going to rescue them when they're, you know, when they become a mom themselves, when they're married? Who's going to rescue them at that point? You know, nobody. So that's why in your home is the safest place to learn these they're just little lessons when you're in the home. And that's when you learn, okay, I need to maybe take more responsibility to prevent that from happening in the first place. You know, that's kind of where you learn that. Like, it's so important to learn it at home, because it's going to hurt.
So when they forget stuff, don't go rushing to go get it to them. Nope. Figure it out. I actually saw something. There's another school that actually has it right on the office. Like, if your kid forgets their lunch today, do not bring it. Do not call us. Do not ask us to give it to them. Because the school actually wanted them to figure out, okay, what am I going to do?
Going without lunch one time is enough to remember that lunch every day.
It's that problem solving has to kick in. What are my things I could actually do? Mom can't bring it. She's not allowed to. What am I going to do?
Yeah. Well, and I like to go into those kind of questions that teach judgment, right? Like, so how did that go? Oh, you didn't get to have lunch. Oh, would you do anything differently next time? Is there a way that you might be able to prevent that in the future, and kind of let them, that's how they learn how to problem solve and how to go through those motions.
Which
so
actually goes,
yeah,
it goes back to how do you react? Like if you freak out because everything's going wrong and you're like, and then you get a call from your teacher because your kid had a problem, they went, well, guess where they got it from?
right. Exactly.
So yeah, you're teaching them too how to deal with when things go wrong. When because they're gonna, might as well teach them like, this is okay. It's okay. Stuff happens.
Well, and it's like, you see this in the classroom too, like, and if I kind of lost my train of thought. You take it and you say something because I totally forgot what I was saying.
You're funny. No, but actually I'll go on to the whole respect thing because I respected my students. Like I had students that teachers, they would make me mad because they'd be like, oh, that kid just won't ever, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I don't even have a problem with them because I'm not your normal. I don't give them that reaction they want me to get. Because I literally this last year had a girl who just like, ah! And she'd make this screaming sound for attention. And so the normal teacher response or a parent even would be like, why, stop it, don't do that. But mine was like, are you okay? Do I need to call 911? And then she just was like, started laughing. She's like, that was not what I was expecting. Or if they would even swear on accident and I'd be like, oh, what was that? Or if I caught him calling somebody else a name, I'm like, why did you call me that? I didn't even do, and they're like, no one was talking to you. I'm like, well, if you can't say it to me, then maybe you shouldn't say it.
I love that. That's great. Well, I think kids learn this early on, right? Like when they're 1.5, and they get hurt, they fall over, they hurt their finger or whatever. They look at you to learn how they should react.
Yep.
So if the parents are like, oh no, are you okay? That's when they feel like, oh yeah, this is the right moment to freak out.
Right. I'd always be like, you're fine.
Right. And if you're like, it's okay, just get back up. They really do watch you to see how they should be reacting. And that's what they're learning from.
Yep.
So like, my son, the Pinewood Derby, he lost the race. He lost all the races. His car didn't do that well. So they're handing out the thing. He got 4th place overall, I think. And there were only 4. So he was just really on the verge of tears, just had to learn how to, like, how do I lose? How does this look? And I'm just like, it does not look like sobbing. That's how it doesn't look. Right. So, so when he would just be like lip quivering and eyes, just, those puppy eyes, I would just like, and he's sitting up in the front. So I'm just like giving him gentle signals. He's like looking to me, like if I'm like, oh no, then he's going to burst into tears. Yep. And I'm like, like I just subtly give him a, nope, this is not okay. So he's like, okay, I need to control it. They are watching you to see how they should act.
Yeah, exactly.
There's so much of a reaction, just back and forth. There's so much of that so often. But if you can really think through what's my goal here with them? I want him to learn how to be a good sport and to be able to maybe take something that feels hard in the moment and to know, I made it through that. That was fine. Like I think teaching failure is an important skill because it's not going to be an isolated event, and so many people have this terrible fear of it, but really he totally failed at the Pinewood Derby and it wasn't a big deal. Now it's over. Nobody thinks about it and it's fine. But he learned, I made it through that. It didn't have to destroy me. So I think it's, I think kids are watching from the beginning to see what should I do here? What should I do?
Which is also why don't hide your emotions. Like as a parent, when she was smaller, I would go in my room and cry.
Right.
And then I was like, why am I doing that? Because she needs to understand that I also have things that go wrong. It's okay to cry if I need to. Or if I ever had a really bad day and I like snipped at her, I would always come back and apologize and be like, that was not okay. There's no excuse for, my emotions making me yell at you for, those are things you go back and say, I'm human, and admit it, because then you're going to have a kid that's going to go around and be like, oh, I'm sorry. Instead of being like, nah, I'm above it all. You know?
Exactly. Well, they have to see you model that first. And it's so impactful for a child when the mom can come in and say, you know, how I was acting, how I was treating you is not okay. And I'm sorry. And please forgive me. Here's what I wish I would have done. And, you know, because that's how you teach them. That's that example, how you teach them, so that they then come to you and say, you know, that wasn't okay. You know, and it's also teaching them what's not okay. Right. So,
those boundaries.
Yeah. So important.
Well, and not only that, but even in your thinking, like lately, my daughter will come and say she was having this weird thought that if I tell mom I did this, she's going to kick me out of the house. And I'm like, okay, first of all, let's think about that for a minute. Let's think about that for a minute logically. Like how many times have I ever said I wanted you to ever leave? Like, I'm the parent that's always like, you don't ever leave me. you can't. I'm like, because you're going to be the one I know that's going to leave one day. You're going to find somebody and you're going to get married and you're going to move. And I'm going to be the parent holding onto your leg as you're leaving because I don't want you to go. So let's go back to that thought. Just, will that happen? And she was like, no. So it's just even teaching her how to process through those, because we always have those negative thoughts will pop up.
Right.
How do I handle when my brain starts going, step back and be like, is that really going to happen? Exactly. And then she's like, yeah, you're right. So now she's been coming out more and telling me stuff that she's struggling with because, you know, she knows I'm not ever going to kick her out. It's crazy.
Right. It's a safe zone. I think that's so important. My daughter just flew out yesterday and I was just like, okay, I'm going to, you know, park this car and I'm going to, you know, let you out, and you know, then I'm gonna hold on to your ankle and you're gonna have to take me with you. You know, I mean, I'm the same way. I'm like, why do my children keep leaving me? I know. Because they're adults and they live in different states. That's why. But it's hard for a mom. But yeah, I know I have a lot of friends who are like, I can't wait till they move out. I'm like, I want them to be here as much as possible. So I love it when they come back. And so we got to quarantine together for about a month. All my girls came home from all over the world. And so now they're kind of back to their own lives again. But it was really wonderful, you know?
Right. Yeah.
So, but that's an important thing because you're teaching, again, that skill of how does this look? What normally happens in this kind of scenario? What's your experience been like, you know, to kind of help them learn those reasoning skills and, you know, see, okay, what's the worst case scenario here, really, you know, kind of look at it more objectively, more reasonably. So,
well, even when I was going, because I went back to school, I didn't go to school till she was like 8, I think. So she got to watch me have to make decisions like, do I do dishes or my homework? It's like, because, you know, I'm working full time and I have her and I've got homework, and like, she had to see me like, I don't like dishes piled, but at the same time, I really wanted good grades. And because I worked so hard to get A's, then now she's worked really hard to get A's, because it all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is something that's important. But then what I didn't realize I was doing is the time that I got like a D in this one class, it was like a Microsoft Office something or other. And it was really confusing how they asked the question. So I got like a D, and I never really told her that before. And so she was been struggling with this class, and she's like, oh, I'm going to get a C or something. I'm like, I got a D. She goes, what? I said, yeah, I got a D. And I still ended up on honor roll. I'm like, so it's okay to mess up, because it's not going to, you know, it's not the end of the world. And plus they're not going to be like, who's going to hire you because you barely passed? No, you have a degree. You still have it. It doesn't matter if you had A's or B's or C's. And like, she's going now for engineering. And I used to work at this one place, and I'm like, there was these 2 engineers who said they would not put their GPA on their resume because they barely passed. And one of them was actually the supervisors over other engineers. I'm like, so it's not there. It's a big deal to pass, but it's not that big of a deal to get a C or a B. It's still okay. In the real world, you're not going to be like, everything's shut off. You can't go look it up.
Exactly. Yeah, I actually went back to school when my four oldest, I have 5 total. My 4 oldest were all when they were in school all day. Well, actually, no, only 2 of them were in school all day. One of them was
Oh,
in
wow.
preschool, and she wouldn't take naps. So I would be like, okay, it's reading time. Go get your books and your blanket and let's sit here and cuddle while we read together. And I would do my homework, and she would read. She would usually fall asleep, but my other one would just take naps easy, my youngest. But I went back to school when they were still pretty young. So my one, she was 4. She's now she's getting married. She's 22.
Oh.
So I went back to school, and they saw me go through that, and I got a C in math, because numbers are not my favorite. Words, give me the words, but numbers, no thank you.
I'm the opposite.
Exactly. Oh yeah. Well, so is my husband, and that's why like anything with words, he sends it to me. All the kids ask me, Mom, help me with my English, or my paper I have to write, and then Dad, hey, help me with this math stuff. So it works really nice.
Well, I like to write, but if you ask me to put verb and adjective, I'm like, no.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's a really good example as well, to show your kids. Yeah, I went back to school. I got my degree, and they saw how hard I had to work for that, Probably only the 2 oldest remember, but they all know. I had 4 little kids, and I went back to school. So, yeah.
Yeah, I tell my daughter that too when she's just doing school. And I'm like, I worked full time, had you and school. And she's like, yeah, I'm not you. I hear that sometimes. I'm not you. And I'm like, that's right, you're not. And I don't even know how I did it, honestly.
Yeah.
It's a blur.
You do what you have to do, right?
That's so true.
Yeah. So, we've talked about way more tips than just the first one being an example, but I think they all kind of tie in together too. It really does come back to that example of what are you willing to model for them and show them, this is how it should look. This is what it looks like. And that's kind of my whole mission is, I'm a certified success principles trainer. So I want to teach moms how to, have that success for themselves, so that they can teach it to their children. Because if the mom doesn't, if the parents don't get it, the kids aren't going to just rise above them without, any sort of training. So, and that is what we want. We do want our kids to be even better than we are, and, learn from our mistakes and that kind of thing. So let me ask you, if you, what mistakes that your parents made did you learn from? And like
so many.
Yeah, what was one thing that you your parents did that you're like, nope, I'm gonna change that and move forward in a different way? What was one thing that you like?
Oh, well, for me, my father was very emotionally abusive. And so when I got pregnant with my daughter, I was terrified that I'd be like him. I didn't want to ever make her feel like she wasn't loved or not wanted for one second, because that's basically what he did to me. I'm trying to think what else. Well, not only that, but I never really saw them talking.
Right.
My parents, like I never had like this role model couple, I don't even know how to say it, thing. Like I never had that. Like I don't know what a nice relationship should look like. Because if they fought, it wasn't in front of us. If they talked, it wasn't in front of us. Like I hardly ever saw them really conversing very much, other than what's for dinner, So they didn't. So that's why I'm so adamant about like, don't be hiding everything that's going on. Because you need to understand that, yes, you can have a disagreement and still work at it. You don't have to be mean when you disagree. Like you can talk, or if you need a minute, 2 sides of the room for a minute, come back together, teach them those things. I didn't have anything like that.
Yeah. Well, it's so life-changing to see these mistakes and how it made you feel. And so you're like, I'm never going to make my daughter feel that way. And it's really a powerful motivator. So do you have anything that you have that maybe you're doing the wrong way that your daughter can learn from? Or that's kind of
because like I said, it's unfortunate that a lot of my huge growth through my thinking and why now I am an empowerment coach is because like she watched a lot of that struggle. I can honestly say I was a really crappy parent in the beginning. I really was. I was single. I was dealing with my own demons, I guess you could say, in my head. And I think one of the biggest things I figured out is because I didn't take care of myself. I always was told the child gets everything first. Mm-hmm. And so that left nothing for me. And so now I'm realizing, like, I taught her that she's not important. I taught her that I'm not important. I taught her there's no boundaries whatsoever. Mm-hmm. She can have whatever she wants because she always comes first. And so now I'm like, oh. And so, yeah, I've been talking to her like, don't do what I've done.
Right.
You know, and so, but luckily, like, I still have her here. So now she's learning those boundaries. Like, one day she was really mean to me and I was like, no, we're not going to do that. You don't get to do that.
Right.
And so, and it was really funny because I did a video on my Facebook about the fact that you're not meant to be last. You actually have to be first, because even like on an airplane, when the thing drops, you put yours on first, because if you pass out, what good is that going to do anybody?
Right.
And so, and I've had people like sharing it all over the place. I'm like, whoa, that was a big trigger, because as parents, we feel like we need to go last, but then we're teaching our child that as a parent, they go last, and it doesn't work that way. So then I'm trying to do everything. And I just now picture myself with like this empty love bucket that I've just been dragging for years because I'm not doing anything to fill it up. Mm-hmm. Or what I should be teaching her is to self-care, fill that up so that everywhere I go, it's just overflowing. And then everyone gets from the overflow and I'm never empty. I never, it took me this whole process to be like, oh, that is so backwards. So so just my action of not taking care of me, now she's like having issues taking care of her. Right. So, and it wasn't even because I said it. It was what I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's so powerful because it's never really too late, right? You can say, even though this is the example I set, it's not something that's okay. And it's something I'm changing for myself. And it's something I recommend you change for yourself. It's so powerful that it's never too late. You still always have an influence, even when they're adults. You still influence them and they still see how you act.
They do. And she's seen me, like, because normally if she would have done that, I would have was like, and I was like, no.
Right.
Which actually, there was another time too that she came to, like I said, she's been coming to me more and sharing things because she was really bullied growing up. And there's a lot of stuff I don't know, but she came and told me she remembered something that I had done. And I was like, I need a minute.
Right.
Because my normal reaction is like, I turn into like a fighter, because you have that fight or flight or faint or whatever. I'm normally like, I'm going to get in your face kind of person. And I was just like, okay, I need a minute. And I went to my room and I really had to process through all of it and be like, yeah, my dad was really emotionally abusive. So that sounded like something he would have done. And is that possible that it could have gotten to me? And I had to admit, well, yeah, maybe it could have. And then I had to go, well, I can either go back down that shame spiral of, oh my God, I'm the worst parent ever. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing that, because that doesn't get me anywhere. Yeah. So literally I'm like processing this all night. And then I came back out to her and my conclusion was, you know what? It doesn't matter if I remember it or not. You do. Right. And you're important to me. And so let's talk about it. Oh, it's like, I had to get through this, get me out of the way. Essentially, I just had to take me out. It doesn't matter. And then at first, and then I also had this process of like, well, it works if the person's actually wanting to grow. And then I'm like, no, it doesn't matter. They can come attack me because they're just a horrible person and it still doesn't matter. It doesn't, I can remove me from it and say, first of all, you don't get to talk to me that way. Two, if you actually want to have a conversation with me, I'll have it. Otherwise, no. So like, this boundaries and move me. And it's I don't know. I kind of went rambling, but yeah, like,
no, I
sometimes
love
it's not about us.
I feel like if everyone had that skill of just saying, you know what, first of all, I need a minute so that I can talk calmly here with dignity. And second of all, it doesn't matter if I remember it because you remember it. I think if everyone had that skill, I don't think any relationships would be struggling, right? If everyone would just do that and say, you know what, I'm sorry for how I made you feel, even if I don't remember doing that myself.
And which goes back to that love bucket.
Right.
Because if our love bucket is so full, like before, if mine would have been empty, I probably would have lashed out at her. but because now I'm understanding that if I fill myself, I don't need anyone else to fill me up.
Right.
I don't need love from out here.
Mm-hmm.
It's already here. And so if I keep that full, then I'm much more able to respect other people because I'm respecting myself first.
Exactly. Oh, you are so wise.
I've been through so much.
Yeah. Well, and you're a teacher, so you gave us a couple pro tips as well. So I love that. So often I think teachers learn all these skills about dealing with children that moms don't ever learn, you know? So that's kind of my mission, is to teach these parenting principles and principles of success to moms so that they can really up level themselves and then really help bring their children up to the next level, you know? So that's what I'm passionate about. I love talking to you. I'm probably going to have to ask you to come back again and share more tips because you just are so wise.
Oh, thank you. I've been around a while.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, so everyone, drop into the comments what's something that you have learned from experience, or something that you've shown by example, and a good example and a bad example. So drop that in the comments. And thank you guys for being here. I am Jennifer from Mom Champ, and I've been talking with Lori Herbers about the power of example, among many other things. So thank you guys for being here. And that's how to be a Mom Champ. Oh, I don't want to end the meeting. I want to end the live Facebook. How do I do that?